بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Riba there are different types of riba. The Prophet ﷺ, he says, الذهب بالذهب والفضة والفضة والبر بالبر والشعير بالشعير. And he says, gold should be exchanged for gold, silver should be exchanged for silver, flour should be exchanged for flour, barley should be exchanged for barley. And then he mentioned a few other things, and then he says, alayhi salatu wasalam, sawa'an bi sawa, yadan bi yad, equal amount for an equal amount, and an immediate hand exchange, meaning the exchange of goods should be immediate, it cannot be postponed. And so riba is anything that goes against that, meaning you trade similar objects for different amounts. So you trade 100 grams of gold for example, 110 grams of gold. Even if the carat is different, this is 24 carat and this is maybe a 21 carat gold. It's riba. To exchange equal items that are of cash or food, and even if the quality is different, we're not talking about quality. There are natures that they're one. Gold is gold. Flour is flour. Bilal radiallahu anhu, he went to the market. He traded date for a higher quality date. So he gave 2 bags in return for 1 bag of a higher quality date. The Prophet ﷺ said, this is riba itself. This is riba right here. Right? That you traded 2 bags of dates for one bag of date. So the rule is that this is a form of riba, is that when when goods are exchanged, cash, or if goods similar cash, which is like gold, because gold was considered cash in the past, right? And so gold for gold, silver for silver, or food, it has to be equal amounts. And the second rule is that it has to be what? Immediately. So you can't be like, hey, I'm going to give you 100 grams of gold, you give me another 100 grams next week. That's still riba as well. That's also riba. It has to be immediate. It has to be immediate. It cannot be delayed. Sawa'an bi sawa, equal amounts, yadan bi yad, hand for hand, immediate exchange. Our scholars also add that if the currency is different, it doesn't have to be the equal amount, but it has to be yad for yad. So let's say I have $100 cash, US dollar, USD, and you have, let's say, Saudi, you're going, Adnan is going to Hajj. Let's say I have Saudi, he has dollars, inshallah. May Allah make his trip easy and accept, Ya Rab, and for all the Hujjaj. But let's say the brother, he's like, I'm like, hey, I have some Saudi riyals left for my last trip. He's like, hey, let me get those Saudi riyals. I'll give you, their exchange rate in US dollars. That's fine because the currency now is not the same. But we're still dealing with cash. So you have to have, it has to be hand for hand right away. It cannot be postponed. Adnan can be like, hey, let me get the cash, I'll Zelle you later tonight. It can't happen. He has to Zelle me right there and then. The time I give him the Saudi riyal, he has to send me the US dollars right away. It can be postponed. If it's postponed, it's riba. So sawa'an bi sawa, yadan bi yad. Hand for hand, right away. So that's all part of riba. And this also applies to food like we discussed. Another form of riba is riba, any debt, this is called riba al-qard, any loan that stipulates a benefit. Any benefit. It can be financial, service, material, anything. So I go to one of the brothers and I'm like, hey, brother says, loan me $100. I'm like, okay, I'll loan you $100, here you go, on condition that, you pay me back the $100 and you also cut my grass. That's riba as well. So any dayn jarra naf'an is riba. Any loan that brings a benefit is riba. So when you give a loan, you cannot stipulate anything in return except the what you gave, exact amount of what you gave. Any additional benefit that is expected, that is implied, is riba. It cannot be implied or cannot be expected. Now, there's this issue. How about if somebody wanted to give out of just out of like as an appreciation? Like, okay, you loan me $2,900 when I needed money. When I return that cash, I'm like, I'm just going to round it up to 3,000, and I'm going to give you 3,000. A lot of our scholars also discourage this. They say it's not because it can be taken as riba. It can be mistaken like, oh, I gave you 2,900. How dare you just give me 29? Like, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should just round it up and give me the full 3,000. That is, they say, so that misunderstanding doesn't happen. Whatever loan you give, expect the same amount and don't even give more, even as an expression of gratitude. Because it might be misunderstood as some type of, it could lead to a cultural norm where these things are expected, right? Oh, I did you a favor, so I'm going to do, somebody did you a favor, so you have to return that favor and a bit more. And that is also riba. So these are some forms of riba. All of this is prohibited. Of course, in our modern time, one of the signs of Qiyamah is that riba will be widespread. And so in our modern time, I mean, the whole financial, global finance economy is based on interest and the accruing of interest with cash. And so all of that is riba. All of that is riba, and it's going to impact every single one of us. A person is responsible to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with their transactions as much as possible, and to refrain from riba, in all circumstances, unless it's extreme and they seek a fatwa, and Allah subhanahu they can seek the fatwa of a scholar for their case. Common issues that come up is mortgage, taking a loan for a car. Can you buy out the interest? And so those are some issues that come up, which I don't want to get into a lot of these fiqh issues, but those are just kind of the general rulings of riba. And so mortgages is loan that requires the interest, which is riba. Car payments, car loans are the same thing traditionally, unless you get a 0 APR loan, which even if there's 0.01, it's still riba and it's haram. And so all of this is riba. All of this is riba. Wallahu a'lam.